Hi, I'm Cedric.
I'm Gabe.
And this is Inside the Bot. Gabe.
No, we're not getting into that. Let's do it properly. Let's be nice to me.
I'm going to be as nice as I can
Some people
make myself
Some people
be
might not realise why you're being so salty with me.
It's not salty.
I'm sure it will come out. And I've prepared my statements for you.
Statements. Good. Well, firstly, welcome to Inside the Bot.
Indeed.
So, what's going on inside the shop, Gabe? I know you've actually been doing a lot of stuff this week.
Inside the shop, we've been pretty busy. So the team have been building up the featherweights ready for Insomnia. And we've got Django, which has had new discs, new drum, new drive, new bodywork. It's looking like a new bot, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And then we've got Legion, which is pretty much brand new. So everything has been replaced in that.
Sweet.
And we've also just been testing Sabertooth's super funky drive system for it. So It's got a really nice controller.
Okay, so have we got any news?
What news have we got? Let me think. So, well, obviously we've got Insomnia, which is a really cool games con coming up in Birmingham, which is going to have, for the first time, featherweight fighting robots, hosted by Robo Challenge, which are the guys that built the house robots. So that's going to be awesome. And Sonic's really cool to look forward to. So I'm very excited to go to that.
And also we've got new audio equipment, which I guess is news.
Sort of, but we did have it last little podcast.
I know we did. This is the first one we're releasing fully with the new audio equipment. So that is.
So the sound this time should be much better. Except I'm going to put a disclaimer in here and say with Gary we had a little bit of an issue with his Skype connection. So he did go in and out. So apologies.
I said it was his Scottish internet.
But that's racism.
That's racism, and he was also in Birmingham at the time.
Exactly.
So it's his Birmingham internet.
Birmingham internet is...
Let him down.
Badness. Or he was using a potato as a laptop.
That could also be it. So we've got new audio equipment.
Yep, which is exciting.
If you've got any comments about it, constructive feedback.
Yes, that would be cool. If anything we can improve. I know that someone said we need some soundproofing against the walls to stop the echo. I'm not sure. We have to build the studio every time we want to set it out, so soundproofing a wall might be a little tricky.
But we'll see what we can do.
Unless we move into a cupboard.
There is a cupboard over there.
Well, let's not get into cupboards yet.
All right,
let's keep on going. Let's do this program.
So any comments inside the bot at gmail.com?
Yep.
Shall we get on to the show?
Yes.
So we had Gary Cairns of PP3D.
Indeed.
He called us up. Well, I called him, but let's not get into the details.
No. We spoke to him.
We spoke to Gary. I thought we'd find out a little bit about him. So here's a little snippet from Gary.
Excellent.
Let's wheel him out from under the table.
Or inside his biscuit tin. Gary!
Let's get him out of the biscuit tin and he can chat about his robot history.
So my robot history goes back a fair few years. So I'm late 20s now, mid-teens when we started out. And I was back in the Air Cadets. We were basically looking for an interesting practical project, and there were two options on the table. One was to build a robot and compete in Robot Wars, and the other was to design and build a Loch Ness monster submarine that we were going to try and get in the papers. Get some tourists to snap it or whatever, have a bit of a laugh, basically. We chose the Robot Wars option. That's an interesting point, actually. My life might have taken a very different path if we hadn't. We built the first middleweight Typhoon, made from wheelchair motors, an old steel gas pipe ring that was salvaged from a scrapyard, and various other bits and pieces. And then we held a competition in the Air Cadet Squadron amongst all 50 to 60 cadets thereabouts, and basically my years of sitting on the PlayStation or Xbox or whatever really came into their own, and I was picked as the driver for the robot. Went ahead and ended up winning the middleweight competition that year, and from there the project kind of snowballed. Up the design, had the heavyweight Typhoon 2, then shrunk it down, had the lightweight, shrunk it down further for a featherweight, and There's a lovely picture of it somewhere on an old computer of 4 or 5 Typhoons lined up outside the the hangar at RAF Newton where Robot Wars used to be filmed, like Russian dolls, one beside each other. So yeah, I mean, it's that's kind of my early history, and then it obviously all culminated with winning Series 7 of Robot Wars. And yeah, it was a great. I mean, we were fairly lucky through the competition. I make no bones about that. But we were both lucky, and we had a good machine, and yeah, everything just kind of fell into place. It was a wonderful experience, and obviously the TV show then stopped after that. But well, that was it. I'd, been bitten by the bug, so kept on with the live events. I've had various machines over the years, some successful, some not so successful that I'd rather forget about. And yeah, then with the new series coming back, it was a no-brainer for me to put together a machine for it. And I thought, well, okay, they're going grade 1 spinners. Well, I need to build something that spins quick. And I had the disc for PP3D kicking about for another machine called Swarm, and I basically placed it on the floor, placed some motors around it, and thought, yeah, let's just skim the ground. Why not? And the rest of the design kind of came from that. So that disc actually moved house with me 3 times, along with the E-Tech that powered it. It sounds kind of odd to say, but I just got a feeling that it was going to get used at some point. And I think Sarah, my wonderful fiance, who's very understanding, she thought I was a bit loopy, but she was just happy to go along with it. And then I was thrilled that I actually got the chance to spin it up and use it in the arena. It was fun. It was tiring. It was exhausting. I got fed up with it. It was kind of the middle of winter in the very north of Scotland, and a number of times I'm stood in my thermal coveralls on the milling machine, shivering away. Sarah comes out and asks if I want another coffee, and then I enlisted the help of Jamie, and he came along, and again the two of us just trying to warm yourself by welding a bit of metal and put your hands over the top of it. It's so that was kind of tiring and whatnot, but to keep myself motivated, sounds a little silly to say, but I actually brought up some throw on YouTube and put on some old Robot Wars battles and just have them playing in the background. And with JP's voice going and the crash, bang, wallop, and all the rest of it in the arena, it just kind of kept focus. And then when we actually turned up, Jamie described it best in the post-event review that you did. The hangar was just a visual spectacle. It was glorious. It was actually quite hilarious because as soon as we arrived, I was like, right, okay, I need to find where the check-in desk is. Marched up to the first people I saw, who just happened to be Angela Scanlon and her kind of run around, production buddy look after. They were, deep in discussing something, and I just barged in. I was like, where do we sign in? A little bit awkward, but I realized who they were. But yeah, it was. I think we all saw the funny side.
An interesting history. Imagine if he'd made that Loch Ness Monster robot.
So he said his life would have changed and have gone a different direction, but what would it be? Would it have been wearing a fisherman's outfit and on the edge of Loch Ness?
Maybe.
Controlling a Loch Ness Monster for the tourist board?
I don't know where you... That's not
Where's
Scotland.
That accent from?
That is not Scotland. But
no, because those fishermen are from Devon. You'll drink what Jeff drinks. I don't know what I'm talking about, but... Aye, have you seen the Loch Ness Monster? There she blows!
That would be his life.
That would be his life, and it would be a different life to the one he's got now.
And we wouldn't have a weird spinner on this episode of Robot Wars.
A weird spinner. Is that what you're calling it?
It's a weird spinner, isn't it? So I want to mention, it was quite nice to hear about the build process, where he was watching YouTube videos of all the Robot Wars to keep him going.
Now, I sort of attuned with him on that one because he said that, but obviously it was super cold where they were because they live near the Arctic. Well, the North Pole, not the Arctic, because that's the other end. So he lives so close
You're not doing very well with accents or geography today.
I don't know what's happened, but he lives near the North Pole, so it's going to be really cold there. And the only friend that he would have is a polar bear. So when the old polar bear goes past, and when he gets lonely, he puts on...
Well, and his wife.
And his wife, yeah. And Jamie. And the other people that live there in the Arctic station. So he's working away and he's in his little shed. It's really cold. He's welding to keep warm. And then, Mr. Polar comes along. And he then he puts on, they all watch old YouTubes of Robot Wars together, all sitting lovely together, all nicely snuggled
Jonathan
up.
Pierce's voice to warm them up.
Soothing them on their way. So let's do the first battle.
Yeah, the first battle. We had PP3D, Sweeney Todd, Apollo, and Can Opener. So let's talk about the weird spinner that is PP3D.
Yeah.
The spinner's on the floor.
Which is genius, isn't it?
Kind of.
Well, no, because it's...
I suppose there's nothing you're not going to hit.
You're going to hit everything, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's only because you're not... It's not... It's called an undercutter, is what it's called, and they have been around before. So it's not the first time it's been done, but it's not something that's done very often. And when I first saw it, I thought, wow, that's... I love PP3D, and I call it, and I've said to them, it's almost like it reminds me of something that was built in Russia in the 50s. It's like Russian brutality about it. It's very solid, it sort of does what it says on the tin.
It's very raw, yeah.
It's raw. It looks so much better when it's got its grilled top on the top because he had to take it off because it was too heavy.
He mentioned that, yeah.
But I love the way he put it together as well. He just said, put the disc on the floor, whack the motors next to it.
Do you think the spinner's on the bottom because he put the disc down first?
Well, it might be. It's just the order of things, and he went.
You're like, I can't be picking that up.
I'm not picking. Yeah, because it's 30 kilos. So he didn't really want to pick it up, so he just left it on the floor and built the robot over the top of it. That's fair enough.
Yeah. And then Apollo with its massive flipper.
Oh, Apollo, that's a lovely flipper, Apollo. I do like Apollo.
Oh, she's a beast.
Some people in the past have said the wedge flipper is a bit boring. Now, I'll give you a little fun fact. Apollo was actually entered into BattleBots for Season 1.
Oh, okay.
And was actually an alternate.
So we got quite far. It was there.
Well, no, it was there. Yeah, it went far. It went in a shipping crate across the ocean. But it was there.
Far.
It was painted blue, and it was called Chronic.
Ah, okay.
And the reason why I believe it's bigger, you notice how big it is.
Yeah.
Is remember the Americans are scared of CO2, so
They fear it.
They fear it because it's too cold. Now, originally, Apollo or Chronic was meant to obviously run nitrogen, and you need a lot more air on board than you would do for CO2. So I believe that, I'm happy to be corrected, but I think that's the reason. But nevertheless, it is built for BattleBots, built as an armoured flippered beast. So it's amazing. And do you know what? I really like the fact they changed the theme. They gave it sort of astronaut theme. It's going to click your buttons because you loved escape velocity. That's Apollo, which is really cool. What's the next robot in there?
Can Opener.
Oh, Can Opener. Now, this is a fun fact for you because you love your fun facts.
I do love a fun fact.
So there's a father and son team who I'm going to give you these own Can Opener.
Okay.
And they were the original builders of part of that Can Opener. However, they don't own it anymore.
Who owns it?
It was lent to them
By
one of our chums who's already been on.
Who's
Jason.
Ah.
From Thor.
What, he owns Can Opener?
He does indeed.
Oh, that's cool.
And I imagine the father and son must have got him in the shower, had a meeting, got him all oh my God, I'm just so excited I banged my arm. Got him all soapy and then said, hey.
So I'm thinking about Jason being all soapy. He only does that with his friend.
No, but that's
fella.
the only way I reckon he would have lent them. So he said, get them a bit soapy. And then they said, hey, can we borrow it again? And they went, no worries.
This is slanderous, by the way.
Why is that? No. Don't you have meetings in the shower? No one said anything bad. It's just shower meetings. Nothing wrong with it. We're all comfortable.
As long as everything's above board.
It is above board. So Can Opener, great crusher robot.
It's just dawned on me. You said a father and a son entered a shower with Jason, who built Thor.
Yeah. For a meeting.
Lathered him up together.
No, they didn't lather. They soaped each other. They soaped themselves. And then they asked to borrow it. That might be not true, but that's the one I'd like to imagine.
Okay. You can imagine that.
Yeah.
It's quite similar to Tough as Nails.
Tough as Nails. It is and it isn't.
It's a gripper?
Yeah, it is, but I would say that Can Opener is actually hydraulic, so it's got a lot more force in its pinchers.
Similar sort of look to it.
Yeah, very similar. Similar, yeah. And who's the last one in this one?
Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd. Oh, Sweeney Todd, the London barber that's going to cut you up.
Yes, that one.
What? So Sweeney Todd, do you know what? Sweeney Todd, when you look at Sweeney Todd on the bench, you think, oh my gosh, they're going to get destroyed.
Yeah, it was.
But I love the fact that it's a nod to old school robot building.
It was made out of an old shelving unit, I believe, an old industrial shelving. I've just decided this. But it might have actually been.
I think it maybe.
It looked pretty similar. It was very light.
Yeah, 45 kilos.
And his weapon was pretty limp.
Yeah,
It was light and limp.
Yeah, I would be happy to fight any featherweight robot against it, and believe we.
I think you'd be able to beat it with Legion.
I think I could.
Maybe
I think
you
I
should
should
have
flip it out
taken
the arena.
Legion to robots.
Oh, we're not having that. Yeah,
At least it can self-right.
So that's the first 4 robots.
Just got to ignore that one, Gabe. You're going to ignore that one,
isn't it? It's going to go through every time. So
and it's got a unique drive system.
it does. It actually looks awesome, and you can't really see it on TV. But when
No, you can see it drive for long enough.
No, but when it went into the actual, when it lined itself up, it went, and it just goes sideways, and you go, that was cool.
Yeah.
You know, it goes sideways and forward at the same time. So it's just going, and it's amazing. I love it.
It just translates itself around the arena. Shall we hear what Gary had to say about this fight?
That would be awesome.
So how did you feel going into this one?
Nervous.
Had you sort of seen everyone who had, like Razor has gone out in the 4-way? Were you kind of?
We weren't around when that happened, but we turned up in the pits and got ourselves settled in, and then I was quizzing people about the arena, how they found it, and all the rest of it. And the thing that came up a lot was grip in the arena, or rather lack thereof.
Yeah.
And it was a concern. So we actually, you'll notice that basically every fight in the arena, we actually almost have a very different wheel configuration, or there's something on the wheels that's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first fight, we actually put some belt dressing spray on the wheels. It made them super sticky. Just a couple of lines, but I mean, it didn't really do all that much, unfortunately. But we did have traction problems.
Yeah.
Initially, and I mean I need to explain this. The way that our spin-up mechanism works is you've got a toothed cog on the E-Tech motor that then runs around the shaft of that supports the disc.
Mm-hmm.
The shaft's actually essentially smooth, and the way that we transfer the power is to tension up the belt. So we've got a mechanism in there that's designed to tension up the belt.
Okay.
Reasons for it is it's a very simple clutch mechanism. So that when the disc stops sharply, if it hits something that's not going to move, then the shock isn't transferred back through the E-Tech. And we were still very much experimenting with, what amount of tension we had to put on, because there's obviously that we end up putting too much tension on and damaging the E-Tech, or not enough and not transferring the power. And you'll notice in this fight, the disc, it took a good bit longer to get up to speed than a lot of the other ones, and it was essentially down to us not having quite enough tension on it. And so I had to do a bit more duck and dodge and dive and all the rest of it. And but yeah, it was the one thing that we were trying to keep in mind right the way throughout was that if we got through the melee, we were guaranteed 3 more fights.
Yeah.
We needed to get through the melee. It didn't matter what condition the robot came out of the arena. We needed to get through the melee and get 3 more fights. Because then it would have felt like it's worthwhile. I think it would have been more difficult to justify all the time and expense if we'd only had 1 fight. I realize that's all par for the course, but that was our main aim, to get through that melee. And I've faced can opener a few times in the past. It's cheating, it's solely built and whatnot.
Yeah.
I realized quite quickly as well with the design, they had this little stepper piece on the floor that was just the perfect height for us to tear into. So, I was thinking to myself, okay, well, we can go for that. Sweeney Todd, lovely team. Love those guys.
Yeah.
Oh, they were so happy, optimistic, and all the rest of it. And yeah, the machine, it was lightweight, and, it was using old school tech for a lot of it. But I just remember watching it kind of saddling up to its position in the arena, going sideways, and I thought, that's just brilliant.
Yeah.
That's quite That's what we need is a few interesting designs and whatnot. It just looked great. It's a shame they didn't show that on the actual on the TV show.
Yeah, it's a shame you didn't really get to see much of the drive system. Did it work very well?
Yeah.
Was it able to
Oh,
go
it did.
in pretty much every direction? Like, can it
Oh, yeah,
rotate and move kind of
with
orthogonal?
that system, you can go back, forward, left, right, as you can with any other robot, but then you can strafe left and right.
Okay.
So it gives you quite an advantage in that you can essentially go sideways.
Yeah.
So it's very useful for weapons that you need to maybe, strike precisely with. There is one robot in the US that
Is that the
can't
Ringmaster?
honestly can't remember the name of it. But I
The
remember
full body spinner?
Combined it with a flamethrower.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and it was it's a very impressive spectacle to see a robot going sideways because nobody else does.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's obviously the final robot Apollo, very well built machine, with thick hard ups right down where our spinner was, and I knew the driver. He's got many years experience and all the rest of it. So I was thinking, okay, right. Really, it wasn't a heat where there was two obviously strong robots and two weak robots. It was, three strong contenders, and then Sweeney Todd who were there just, for a bit of fun, basically.
Yeah, a bit of a technical exercise for them.
Yeah.
So,
so we got the 3-2-1.
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, well, I mean, you found Apollo's weakness, definitely.
Yeah. I completely meant, we aimed for it, got right in there. I was going right for the back. In actual fact, it was a complete, I just hope for the best when I rammed the disc under there, and the reach just happened to be enough to tear the wheel out.
Yeah.
And when the first one came out, I thought, if I get a chance, I'm taking that second wheel.
Yeah.
Sadly, I never got the chance. It's funny because when Can Opener went out, I actually thought, you know what? If I'm able to take out Apollo, then the next round, Sweeney Todd would go through, and the next round would get very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be laughing,
yeah. It would have been interesting if that had happened, certainly. But no, it was a lot of fun. It was you saw it on TV. We'd never actually driven the robot while spinning before. It was just too dangerous to do it.
Yeah.
So we'd let the disc running on my driveway. It tore up the tarmac, which I think I'm not the best pleased about. So I need to get that repaired at some point. And we'd strapped it to a pallet and done a spin-up test and done some thermal imaging kit and whatnot. Do some thermal imaging pictures and whatnot of it. And that all worked great. It was great. But this was the first time that we'd actually driven it, spun it. So I didn't know how it was going to handle or anything like that.
How was it to drive around?
So when the disc is on the bottom, brilliant, very controllable, all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
When the disc's on the top, we're upside down, it's manic, absolutely crazy. Because the disc's at a funky angle, when you turn left and right, you essentially end up with gyroscopic forces acting in very interesting ways that start to throw the robot around.
Yeah.
And I've had a few people comment on it and say, how are you going to sort that out for next time? And because they're seeing it as a problem. I in fact just see it as a feature of the robot. Because if I don't know what the thing's going to do when it's upside down, then my opponent certainly doesn't know what it's going to do. And it just adds that level of slight craziness to proceedings. It's a visual spectacle. And whilst we're having a competition, I mean, let's face it. At the end of the day, it is a TV show. So you want stuff that people can talk about. Awesome, that one. That's what I want to do. I want to give people an interesting show, because if I don't, then chances are I'll have found it boring actually doing it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say you made a pretty good impression the first Rumble. Yeah,
I think so.
You got some good damage off on Apollo, who is at this point looking like one of the strongest robots. Heat.
Yeah.
At least.
He's a very good robot.
Yeah.
Well,
what an awesome fight.
That was amazing, wasn't it?
And Definitely not planned chopping off Apollo's wheels then.
This is where the undercutter, for his first fight, I love the fact that this is his first fight with this robot. It's the first time he's driven it with the undercutter going, because he's never been able to do it before. And he just sees his opportunity and whips those wheels out. Imagine.
But he's not even intending. He's just like, I can get in there and do some damage. And then he tears a wheel off.
We were watching from upstairs in the Roboteers room. And we were going, oh my God, he's chopping wheels off. And there's wheels hemorrhaging out the side. And then we thought, actually, it looks like he's going to get the other one. But he doesn't. Now, what's amazing about Apollo is that obviously it's lost the bottom half of one of its wheels.
Yeah.
But it hasn't entirely shattered because they're still managing to get around a bit, aren't they?
It looked like I just grabbed the kind of tread off it.
Well, it just actually almost chopped the whole bottom off one of the wheels.
Did it actually?
Yeah, so it was like, ooh. It had a flat spot on it.
That
basically.
could have been interesting. Imagine if Apollo had gone out in that rumble.
Oh, yeah.
We'd have been robbed of the rest of this episode.
Exactly. How different would it have looked? That would have been, like Gary said, PP3D and Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. So, Battle 2, we had Eruption, which is a nice flipper.
So Eruption is a robot that's done so much around the live circuits.
Yep.
I believe, and I might be wrong, Eruption team, but he's got so many trophies, like shelves of them. And I think he's been like, in brackets, UK or world champion many times with this robot. He's driven it since he was like 7 years old. Phenomenal driver, good solid bot.
Did they build it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Built
so
by
their build, yeah.
Built by the dad. The son, I think, helps as well, but yeah, definitely built.
And they've got the little weird grabber on top. Is that ever going to do anything? Have you ever seen it do anything?
I don't think, to be honest, it's going to do anything at all. And if you notice later on, a lot of those bits get removed, but they've been put on too because there's a thing that flippers are boring and they maybe want to spruce it up a bit. Storm 2 is obviously has won Robot Wars before, is a UK champion. This robot, if there was ever a robot that was a fighting brick, that's just super solid and can always give everything out, Storm 2's you won.
No, we've had Ed on, and Ed's great. A little bit of this made me laugh when they kind of, had a little interview with them in their garage.
Yeah. What, with him blowing the thing?
And it was, no, not even that bit. When they basically said, we're going to project manage you to death.
Yeah, well, you know what? If anyone can project manage stuff, I think Ed's your man for project management.
It was just...
But I like that, because it goes to show you don't have to be the person that actually does all of the building. So it means that Robot Wars is accessible to almost anyone.
Yeah.
You don't have to be an engineer, because lots of people say, oh, it's the engineers and all this, and they've got loads of money. But actually, you can. And do you know what? Also, Ed says about £20,000, right? Mm-hmm. That's not what Storm 2 cost to buy at that point. Yeah. It's how much money they've spent on it over that time. But if you actually wanted to make Storm 2, make it now, it wouldn't cost £20,000. But all the stuff they've learned, all the motors they've had to buy, they've changed.
The development of Storm 2 would be 20 grand.
The development of Storm 2 is 20 grand. It doesn't cost 20 grand.
No.
Okay, Terra Turtle.
So
you're not having Saber 2, yeah. Terra Turtle. So Terra Turtle is super old school bot.
It's coming straight out of the shed, this one.
And you know what?
And onto Robot Wars.
I love it. It gets knocked out, brought out of the shed. It runs every time. It runs about. I don't think it's really ever done anything.
And it's got a mini bot with it.
It's got a little mini bot, hatchling, which is really cool. And those guys were brilliant. You see their sort of crazy costumes. They're wearing like a Cossack. I think that's not costumes. I think that's actually their clothes.
Yeah, they just wear that?
Yeah, all the time.
Oh, okay.
So, it's a great fun bot. Now, I'm going to give you now. So when I got there and I found my drawer, or our drawer, Eruption...
Are you in this fight?
Yeah.
Or maybe we should talk about your robot.
Let's do Sabretooth. So Sabretooth, we've talked about it already before. But basically what happened with Sabretooth, so everyone knows, is we worked. We're fixing issues. We were developing Storm's 20 years worth in 2 weeks. So we were putting stuff together. We got to the self-writing part, and that claw, everyone, opens out and is meant to self-write. But 2 days before we were going, it really wasn't working properly. It wasn't going as we wanted it to. And we thought, all it's going to do is break. Yeah. So we actually welded it on at that point. Mm. So the arm, in that position, is welded on.
Excellent.
Because, now, do you know what? People say, crazy to go to Robot Wars without a self-writer. But
Well, they're right.
no, they're not though, because what should I have done otherwise? What said I'm not going because we haven't got a self-righter?
No, I'm not.
We built a
It
racing
is
robot.
crazy to go without a self-righter. You had one, but it didn't work.
Yes, so I'm still going to go because do you know what? I was
yeah.
not going to miss Robot Wars for anything in the world. And the last thing I want to do as a builder is let the people down and say we're not coming. Because do you know what? We'll come, even if we come and be fodder, I'm happy with that. Because the show is the thing.
And it could have been. You could have. Well, you say that if you'd have got through.
Yeah.
We get onto the fight a bit, but you're not going to go any. You're going to be really boring to watch. Surely, in the next fight, it's just going to get flipped.
Well, no, I mean, do you know what? We'd have had to, drive. We'd have been right if we'd got through. We'd have been driving on. We'd have been. Who would we have been fine against? PP3D. We'd have been fine against.
Yeah.
Storm. We would have been fine against. Because
Not forgetting that the house robots have flippers.
but the house robots only if they could touch you. They're not allowed out the CPZ, are they?
I guess, but
And so, I do you know what? I think we would have done okay, but we didn't, so it's a bit irrelevant, really. But having said that, the fodder. I looked at the draw and I thought, Sabretooth, Eruption, Storm 2, Terror Turtle. For a start, we've got 2 champions in us. In 2 champions. Well, I mean, what the hell? And then we got Terror Turtle and we got Sabretooth. And I actually thought to myself, are we the fodder? I didn't want to be fodder. I'm like, oh my god, we're fodder.
you got a really nice looking robot.
I'm like, it's fodder. They've put us in as fodder. But actually...
You're unproven.
No, completely unproven. And we've never won a televised fight. So actually, really had nothing to lose.
But it's fine though, because you win this one. And you go on to win the heat.
No, we didn't actually. So let's talk about the fight.
Yeah, let's talk about the fight. So how are you... Well,
from your point of view, in fact, your point of view is different from my point of view. And lots of people said, I mean, there's another podcast which I listen to, rival podcast, Activate. You guys, I'm sure you're going to listen to this, the Activate podcast. I listened to it, and you were really lovely about Sabretooth, and I was really touched with how nice you were about it.
they touched you.
No, they didn't. They just,
Oh, okay.
it was an
internal touching.
internal touching. And but they said Sabretooth drove out and then got flipped over. But actually, that's not completely correct. And lots of people have said, you've said as well, and the Coopers have said, why did you drive straight at Eruption?
I didn't say that actually.
Didn't you?
No.
What did you say?
Someone else did.
Oh, okay.
I heard them say it to you.
Ah.
I was there.
So-
I think you were driving all right.
No, I was really worried because I couldn't. You know when we talked about you don't remember the fights. I was really worried that I'd driven really badly, and I'd let my daughter down and let the team down. And
Now
then,
let's talk about the weapon on Sabretooth actually.
okay.
The spinner.
Yeah.
Was it 100%?
Yep, that was working. That was cool. That was
I
good.
thought it looked a bit slow to me. And was that Esme was a bit cautious with it?
Well, no. What was happening? We couldn't get its full speed up because we'd broken the ESC earlier.
Okay.
And Magic Smoke had come out, so we'd replaced it. However, I reckon we were still getting about 4,000 RPM. But what we didn't want to do is the whole idea of your weapon operator is you don't just wind the drum up and drive around because you won't be able to drive around. The gyroscopic forces will ruin you. So the whole idea was that you start to drive around, you wind it up when you're away from someone, and then almost as you hit them, pull it back a bit so you're not driving against it. So there's quite a bit of an art to the weapon operating. Mm-hmm. And bearing in mind, Esme hadn't had a chance to practice because we can't drive around hitting stuff with weapons. It's too dangerous.
No.
So she was a bit like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And I said, honestly, this is what you need to do. And you really can't go wrong. Yeah. And by the way, everyone, Esme, who's 14 years old and a girl, operates the weapons. So she doesn't make the tea. She doesn't do the artwork. She runs the weapons on that robot. Awesome. So that's her job.
Had you had an arm that worked, she would have been doing that as well.
She would have been doing that as well. So...
and Rob is very much, he does all the work.
Well, we got the ice creams to eat.
Poor Rob. He does all the donkey work and he doesn't even get on to talk.
We're going to remedy that because we're going to get him to... We're going to have the weapons start to split up a bit more so we can get 3 people on.
Oh, a bit like you're inspired by...
Mr. Bales.
Will Bales
Exactly.
and Hypershock.
Exactly.
From BattleBots.
Exactly. So... do you know what? When I looked at the driving, I was actually pleased with my driving because I've always got the drum to Eruption. I'm always driving around.
Yeah.
Other people have said, why didn't you drive into Storm 2 or Terror Turtle? Storm 2 took Terror Turtle off through the middle. They were really sort of, moving each other about. And the actual main fight, which doesn't show on TV, that I believe was between Eruption and Sabretooth. And Eruption were dead set on getting rid of us. That was their whole game plan.
Did they know you didn't have a... Does everyone at this point know you've not got a self-rise?
They can see, because it's solid.
Yeah.
So they know to flip us over, we're done. And Storm 2...
they did seem hell-bent on that.
Storm 2 were keeping out of our way, because we were the ones who could do them some damage. And
Ed actually said...
He said, we're going to keep out of the way of it. We're not getting anywhere near it. Because, we know the power of a drum spinner when it connects. So in Eruption, great driving, all over me, but I was really pleased that it kept the drum to them and actually...
And you survived one flip from them as well.
And do you know why we survived the flip from them? The drum is what kept us... Flipped into the air, but we actually kept us... Because Esme's got it wound fully open at that point. And that's what dropped us back on our wheels.
But, I mean, that's a good test.
Yeah.
To go out, get flipped, and nothing fell off, which we've seen some of us.
Nothing
stuff
fell off.
Fall off.
Yeah. So
I think you'll come back strong next year.
I hope so.
Hopefully next year happens.
The arm already works.
Yeah.
By the way,
you fixed the arm.
I fixed the arm. I mean, just finished the arm. And
it's really annoying because I wanted to be really harsh to you. Because I have to explain to everyone listening, you've been going on about this robot since forever.
Yeah.
And, it was always, oh, look at the CADs for my new robot. It's going to be amazing. Look at these CADs. So I feel like...
I built it up too much.
I've gone to sleep. I've told you this.
Yeah.
So I've gone to sleep and I've woken up the day after Boxing Day.
Right, okay.
Because I haven't got any presents.
There's nothing.
There's no leftover Christmas dinner.
You're right. It's all gone.
It's just completely nothing.
And you know what?
If I'd seen you lose all your heat fights, I would have woken up on Boxing Day. If I'd seen you get to the heat final,
you're right.
Christmas Day.
Yeah.
If I see you get into the final episode, the final 6,
New Year's Eve,
I've woken up and there's a brand new bike downstairs.
Oh, okay.
Santa himself is sitting there.
Yeah, on the bike. Cuddling him up.
Saying, steady. Saying, come on, let's go for a ride.
I know. Now, do you know what? My main thing was I really wanted us to do okay, and I didn't want to disappoint Esme. That was my main thing. With Jerome, he's disappointing a 5-year-old. Well, try to disappoint a 14-year-old girl. It's probably a little bit more pressure there. And she's got to go to school, remember. But actually, we did really well. We got some really lovely feedback from people, so I was really touched.
What's the reaction been like on social media?
So social media, everyone's been saying how beautiful Sabretooth is. They love the look of it.
You're going to say how beautiful Esme is.
No. So,
okay.
How beautiful Sabretooth is. And you know what? They loved Esme, and they loved me a little bit as well.
What about Rob?
Well, I wasn't looking for
Rob's getting no love.
Yeah, he should look for that himself. I'm sure he did get some love.
I'm going to send him a little message.
You send him a message. I got a little message of saying that the person was free all nights this week. The blonde guy from Sabretooth. So that was nice.
Oh, was that from Rob?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
You would have texted me that. Anyway, we're getting out of the thing. So basically, we did a fight. Who goes through on this one?
Do you know other people did a fight as well? Let's not just talk about Sabretooth, Gabe.
No, we're saying who goes through. We've gotten rid of Sabretooth. I'm not talking about that.
Oh, all right.
We're talking, so Eruption go through.
So Eruption, great driving.
Storm 2 go through.
Storm 2, brilliant driving.
Definitely.
But what happened to Terror Turtle?
So Terror Turtle flipped out of the arena.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Eruption has got an almighty flip, hasn't it?
It's a pretty good flip.
I mean,
Apollo's got a better flip, I'd say.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, probably. But I think Apollo's got more power. I'd like to see Eruption try a house robot.
Yeah.
But I was impressed by that flip. But then we've seen the flip before at live events, haven't we? You've seen Eruption at a live event before in Guildford.
Oh, was it in Guildford?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Gabe's out of the competition. I suppose that didn't come as a surprise to you.
Not really, because I've known the whole time that I wasn't in the competition, so that's fine.
You've just been saying, "Oh, look, you're going to see me win Robot Wars."
Oh, that's been really hard with people. No, I've not said we're going to see me win, but it's been really good because I know that everyone's going to wake up the day after Boxing Day, and it's not going to be Boxing Day. But you can't say anything. You can't obviously give anything away, so you have to keep it stum.
So then we've got the head-to-heads.
Oh, we haven't. What's this called? This episode?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. It's called A False Hope.
Oh, I like that.
Because it's episode 4.
That's nice. Who is the false hope? Is that me?
That's you.
I love the name. I think it's great. It's very apt. And it makes me feel a bit excited that it's Star Wars. Because we had a Star Wars theme last time where people went to visit Obi-Wan Kenobi, who lives in the desert.
Yep.
And do you know what? I visited Obi-Wan Kenobi to collect my metal for Sabretooth.
Did you?
Yeah. Oh, I travelled to the desert. Can I have some metal, please? And he went, yeah, that'll be 300 euros, please, Governor. And I visited him.
Oh, Esme and Rob, C-3PO and R2-D2.
Yeah. Rob is the short one.
Esme's the socially awkward one.
She's like, yeah. Well, that's it. That's the team.
So you went and... Who's Obi-Wan Kenobi, though? Do you have an old man who... Oh, you kind of do.
Don't you remember who... No. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Don't you remember who he is from last week? You don't remember, and I'm not telling you.
Oh, John Findlay.
John Finley.
From Robots.
From Roaming Robots. Yeah.
No, also, a false hope. It means you're eventually going to overthrow the Emperor.
Boom! I love that. I'm going to kick that Emperor's butt. Who's the Emperor?
The Emperor is, of course...
Moldy. He's the Emperor.
Is he your...
I'm going to put him on the flame pit.
Or is he Darth Moldy?
He's Darth Moldy. I'm going to put him on the flame pit, and then I'm going to hit him with a spatula. So Bales uses a rake. I'm going to put a spatula on it. I'm going to put him on the flame
You're
pit.
going to flip him.
And then I'm going to cook him down.
Flip him when he's half done.
I'm just going to slap his top, like you do a burger. And then turn it up a little bit to see if it's down inside. That's what we're going to be doing. Roasting him down. Cooking a mouldy burger.
I know Moldy's going to be on the show at some point.
So now we've roasted his burger.
So he's going to roast you back.
Of course he will. But I've
He's
roasted
going to destroy you.
I've roasted him. I've put my relish on him. I'm squeezing it on. Saucy. Loves a bit of sauce.
Stop it.
Bit of the old blue cheese. Lovely. Okay. First head-to-head. PP3D v Apollo. Now, I thought to myself here, do you know, I thought, this is going to be genius. We're going to relive the dream.
Yeah.
PP3D.
He's going to get them both off.
But these guys, the Apollo guys, do you know what? I love the Apollo guys. Now, when we were filming, I thought they were a little bit grumpy. But I have to take that back, because they're not grumpy. They were just really busy fixing their robot all the time. And they actually are really exciting. They are great fun. They put their all into it. And do you know what? They really gave it to PP3D, didn't they?
They did. I mean, I thought it was going to be a repeat. You thought it was going to be a repeat. But who ended up losing their wheel? PP3D.
Just flicked it off.
Flicked it off. That is a beastly flipper.
That is.
And there was a massive hit between the two of them as well.
Yes.
And that is where it all ended, as we'll hear from Gary.
It was an interesting one, actually. So we spun up, hit them a few times, but their wedge is just such a low angle that we just kept getting deflected up the way.
Yeah.
And it's very thick wear plate steel, and we did get a good few nice hits onto them. Left a few dents and scratches and whatnot.
Yeah.
But then fairly early on, their flipper went off, and it essentially just separated one of our wheels from the rims.
Yeah.
The rims themselves, I mean, the wheels on PP3D were from, they were puncture-proof sack truck tires.
Okay.
So they're not, they've got a loading of about 200 kilos, but they're not really designed for robotic combat. They're, designed to sit in a corner and move heavy things around every so often.
Is that an area you'll look at to improve, or?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, in a big way. And, we're without a wheel. And so I just said to Jamie, spin her up.
Yeah.
Just let her go. We've got absolutely nothing to lose, throwing everything into the disc. I still had one wheel. I could still roughly hobble. And at that point, I think the Apollo guys realized, right, we're going to have to actually knock this guy out, because he's not going to, I never back down in battle.
Yeah.
It's if I come home from an event with a working robot, then it's been a bad event for me.
Definitely.
So, we spun it up, and it was terrifying. The hum from it. They didn't really capture it on the TV, sadly.
Yeah.
But Apollo, all credit to them. They came in and they gave us a good flip, and essentially our link popped out. And at that point, that's it. We're match over. We're done.
Yeah. So a lot of energy in that hit.
There was, and all credit to them. It was a well-deserved win. So we left the arena with no points, and then onwards to our next one, I guess.
Yeah, so PP3D crapped out some parts and then lost.
He crapped out some parts. Oh, he hemorrhaged them out, and then he was done. Next fight.
So then we got head-to-head 2, and that's Storm 2 in Eruption.
Yep.
And Storm 2 wasn't flipping with his flipper.
No, now, do you know what? Storm 2 and Eruption, they've met many times on live events now. So Eruption expect to get underneath Storm 2 because they've always done it before, but we've got super smooth floor. Storm have lowered their wedge.
Lovely skirting as well.
Lovely skirting. There's no way that's going underneath it. So essentially what we've got here is a push around with Storm underneath Eruption all the time. I did expect him to open up his front forward lift.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He didn't flip at all.
But maybe, it's a tactical person. Maybe he thought it's not the right thing to do, and Eruption can just self-right anyway, so there's little point in doing it. But
It shows a bit of aggression, though.
it does show some aggression, but it was a judge's decision, wasn't it?
And the judges on Robot Wars very different to the judges on other robot fighting TV programs.
Yeah.
On BattleBots.
Yes.
Where they don't look for that much. Well, there wasn't much damage from Eruption either because it's just a flipper. So you can't really say he's doing weapon damage.
No.
So it went to the judges in the end,
Storm
and because of the aggression of Storm,
They went through. Yeah.
they went through.
Apollo v Storm
Now Apollo flipped some house robots, didn't he? In this fight.
In this fight. This is amazing. Now we were watching this, and I think this is your first house robot flip.
It
and
is.
He gets accidentally jammed in that corner, and he panics, and then he starts on it. I'm going to flip him, and this is dead metal going over, and he just flips him over, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!"
And he's like, "Oh, I'm dead metal."
Everyone went crazy. Dead metal was what the hell was that? And he was flipped, and.
Matilda's like, "Oh, I'm going to help you."
And then she was like, no, and then flipped. So
flipped
this
as
is
well.
where Apollo starts to build its legend. This is where the public they start to love Apollo. And the guys are so enthusiastic, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're like, do you see them? They're so excited. And you get excited with them because of that. So even though I knew that was going to happen, I still got as excited again watching it on TV.
Awesome.
It was amazing. So that
And Storm 2 was flipped a lot.
Storm 2 was flipped out, but it's hard little brick, carries on, keeps on hitting.
No, and it can run both ways up as well. So
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I love the fact that when it does, it has to do a weird reverse. Doesn't it?
I love how it flips itself. Yeah,
But it wouldn't just work on its own. It
No.
has to do a run up and then up.
and it's actually really slick when it
does look
comes
really cool
off.
when it goes over. I do like a robot that self-rights. Because I've got to say, it's lots of people say, why don't you just make it run upside down? But when you start running upside down, you need big wheels, and it's a bit boring when it runs upside down. It's got no showmanship. I do like a robot that can go up and hey and do a little handstand. Obviously, mine doesn't do that.
So what you said is, I love a robot that can self-right. So you don't love your own robot?
I love my own robot. It's just its self-righter
It's just got flaws.
was malfunctioning. It's just not its fault. I've
That's
tucked
a
it
flaw.
up. It's tucked it up. Don't be start having a go
It's
at
got
it.
flaus.
Don't be. It'll get furious with you, and then you'll be.
Hopefully it
sorry.
does, and then I'll just turn it
I'm
upside
going to
down.
I'm going to be taking a few lessons from Mr. Al Kindle with
Are
getting.
you going to put flames in it next
No,
time?
we're
then?
not allowed then, but I will get it.
Are you
furious. No, not in Britain.
Why not?
We fear them.
That's
It's like
a
the
bit
CO2
boring,
business.
isn't it?
Yeah, you don't want
Can't-
some bloke from his garage like making a flamethrower, do you?
Of course you do.
No, you do not.
Well, that's what the Americans do.
The Americans, they've got it's different
They're all putting flame in their robot.
Yeah.
Why can't we have it over here?
because we can't.
We don't even have flame in the house robots anymore.
No, but if we have Bashback, we might.
Just nearly call him Mr. Bash.
Mr. Bash. Stop this. This is going to be too long. Get to the next head-to-head.
All
So the
right.
next head-to-head is PP3D v Eruption.
And we're going to hear from Gary about this one.
Okay, Gary, go.
So Eruption, again, a very good machine, basically built for the live event circuit,
Yeah.
where you typically get flipper on flipper a lot.
Yeah.
There's a few odd other machines here and there, but those are the main ones. And so because of that, it wasn't designed with spinners in mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lovely machine, but they had a lot of angles that I could clip onto.
Yeah.
And I had a wee look around the robot before the fight, and I thought, okay, so there's a lot going on. I realized that they've got a very powerful flipper, but they had a lot of vertical surfaces, and those are just ideal for catching with the teeth of the disc and imparting the huge energy out of it.
Yeah, you definitely caught him with one blow. It certainly caught me by surprise when I was watching. You just see their
Yeah.
armor torn off.
I think it caught a good few people by surprise. So essentially, with that fight, we went in and it was we managed to tweak again the tensioning further and actually just find the sweet spot.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was about 4 or 5 seconds to full spin up, and you'll notice as well the wheels in this fight. They're again slightly different. Chatting around the Roboteers in the arena, what we found was that the teams that were having no trouble with grip were the ones using like rubber tires, bike tires or whatever. So essentially, we nipped off the Halfords and grabbed off the shelf their cheapest mountain biking tire.
Yeah.
And then Jamie set to work with the Stanley blade and cut them up, and we screwed them in.
Oh, that's the fight when they look like they've kind of got wheels stapled on.
Yeah, well, I think they're quite cool. They look like metal studs.
Yeah.
It's quite a look for it. And we reweighed ourselves, made sure we're all within weight. It was funny actually. The original weight was 108 kilos or thereabouts. This took us to 109.95.
Can't it fine? Using every gram.
Right. Exactly. I mean, if it had been over, we could have taken out a few screws. We've gone overboard with them, but we wanted to make sure they didn't come off. And this worked brilliantly. Gave us all the grip we needed in the arena. And the fight itself, it was just, we were just giving them hit after hit after hit.
Yeah.
And then there was that one massive hit where we were sent off in one direction. They were sent to the other side of the arena. And essentially we both lost drive on one side.
Yeah.
So our drive problems essentially stemmed from a lack of shock mounting on the drive motors.
Yeah.
And you saw in the match afterwards that what happened was the shock just went straight through the gearbox into the motor, and the magnets in it had just shattered.
Oh yeah.
And it shattered. It jammed up the motor, and with me doing my pirouette dancing trying to get back over to them, it essentially burned out the motor because the motor was stalled for about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, the speed controller, the Vantec speed controller, never burnt out, which I was really chuffed about because those aren't cheap.
No.
And I mean, the first minute was insane, and then the next 2 minutes were just trying to figure out if I could still translate across the arena.
Now I don't know how fans will feel about this fight.
Yeah,
but I love this sort of fight because it's kind of like when you've got two dazed boxers.
Yeah. Dara described it as two soldiers who'd lost their legs crawling across the battlefield to, try and punch each other. It was, it was interesting, but the funny thing was that I ended up translating over towards dead metal, and I then figured out the controls or whatever. But then he started moving towards me, so I thought, all right, fine, my disc's going full tilt. I just turned towards him and faced him. And I think you can actually hear on the TV, I just say something like, "You want some?" I just thought, "Oh, go on, drive into me." I would love that disc to just go into the middle of the claws.
Let's see what happens.
Jamie would probably never have forgiven me because he's a big fan of death metal. But I thought, yeah, why not? And then the buzzer went, and we had to wait on the judge's decision, which we won, and so we got 2 points off that. It was a good feeling, we got some points on the board, and it's good,
I'd say you definitely deserved them in that fight.
Yeah, I thought it was an entertaining fight, but then it kind of turned into a bit of a hilarious farce, Yeah. There was still a show there, it just maybe wasn't what people were expecting.
I love it. Classic one wheel versus one wheel action at the end. I really like. What do you think of fights where they're just groggy in the ring?
Well, no, do you know what people say? Oh, it's boring. Or so. For those fights that we had at the beginning, they were hitting each other so hard. Like it was like two big heavyweight boxers with no guard up, just slugging each other in the face, just bang, and then like, oh, let's take another one, bang, and they were just hitting each other.
I love it,
and I loved it. I love it when that red bit of eruption just gets torn off the side. And that's when you want it. So I don't mind.
I think don't cut down a fight if it's just been bad. Like
no.
Bad in quotation marks.
Because I think people lose the sort of purity of the fight. Because they go, oh, wedges are boring, flippers are boring. But if you actually watch it with what they're doing and how they're doing things, I don't think so.
I liked it.
Yeah.
And the next head-to-head we had Apollo and Eruption.
Oh, two big flippers here.
And you're thinking, well, Apollo's going to flip him out or something like that.
But
No,
do you know what? Do you know what the thing is here?
Go on.
I'm going to tell you now. Driving since you were 7 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, that is what's going to come out here. He is an excellent driver. Flippers.
He's not thinking at all.
Remember
about
also.
what he's doing.
No,
It's
no.
just-
But remember, this is his forte. He fights with flippers all the time.
I mean, this is what happens on the live circuit, flipper versus flipper,
He's
every
flying-
day of the week, but not literally
He's flying
every day
like
of the week.
8 or 9 events a year. So he's
Some
driving
days
his
of the
flipper
week.
v flipper. This is his thing. He completely owned them and knocked them out. And they just didn't have the same experience as him at all.
No.
Just, that's what that's
They
what
did
showed.
fall apart, though.
And they fell to bits.
So then, PP3D Storm 2.
Yeah.
A bit of a heartbreaking fight for PP3D, and we'll hear from Gary about it.
Okay.
We had a wee chat with backstage just beforehand. We were both just laughing at the fact that the fanboys were going to go nuts for this one.
Yeah.
The Gary versus Ed, it's Series 7 all over again and all the rest of it. But, PP3D is a completely different robot. It's got nothing to do with Team PP3D.
It's kind of a different show as well.
It is. It's that's from a different time and whatnot. But no, it was a good match. Their machine is designed to take on discs like ours, and we still managed to do more damage to them than we did with Typhoon 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then again, essentially it was we got one proper large spin up. Well, there were a number of them.
Yeah.
They got one huge spin up and ended up flying across the arena, bang hard on the other motor on the other side. And that one was then disabled. Suspected the exact same again.
Yeah.
Magnets shattered or whatever. And we just happened to be over the pit, which was a really quite disappointing way to go out the battle.
Yeah.
Storm just tapped the button and down we went. It wasn't great.
No, did you get that sinking feeling when you were kind of just waiting on top of the pit?
As I realised before they did.
Yeah.
Right. I've got absolutely no way to get off this quickly. And they had no reason to come in and keep hitting me or whatever. I'm a mobile. They're still going. So, they stood back and then just realised, oh God, he's on the pit. Go.
Yeah, you hear that urgency in Ed's voice.
Yeah. It wasn't a great feeling, but it's all part of it, isn't it?
Helpless on the pit.
I know. Ed's shouting, open the button.
And I love how he coolly says after the fight.
Afterwards, he goes, I just tapped him on the shoulder.
No.
He didn't. He was going, open the button. He was frantic. Ed, you were frantic there. It wasn't, I just said, hey, buddy, just
dump him in the pit.
dump him in the pit. You didn't. You crapping yourself that he wasn't noticing. So that was funny. Now, when this came back in the pits, you noticed that bit that was peeled off the side of Storm.
No.
The side panel is peeled off. PP3D's peeled the side panel off Storm.
Okay.
That is 8 mils worth of titanium peeled back like a sardine can. And what was really funny about this is Rob. I'm going to give a thing for Rob. He cuts himself a lot. Right. He cuts himself.
Oh, God.
He always
Poor
cuts
Rob.
himself. So he always likes to touch the sharp bits.
So you've got to say accidentally cuts himself.
Yeah. He's not a self-harmer. No.
He's not sad about all the attention
No.
that everyone else gets on the team.
He's not at all. I'm giving him some space. So at one point, Esme told him, he's covered in plasters. Esme told him, stop touching the discs of Sabretooth because they got really sharp edges. And then he comes back and Storm, Ed says, oh, don't touch that. It's really sharp. That bit's sharp. And Rob went, picked it up, cut himself. Get the plasters again. So he just loves the sharp thing. He's like a magpie. Shiny, sharp. He cut it.
The heat final.
Yep.
You got Storm 2 and Apollo.
Yeah.
What a fight.
Amazing.
Amazing from Apollo. He flips a house robot.
Yeah, Philip's shunt goes out again.
Shunt goes over. Matilda comes back. Oh, I gotta help.
I'm helping you, buddy.
Shunt.
Oh.
Tips him back over.
Tips him over.
Lovely.
Great.
Apollo's all over Storm 2 though.
Definitely. He's taken it to him. And do you know what I love about it? When they finally flip him out the arena, those guys, they are so excited.
They go mental.
That was a bit for me. It's like, they're just doing that. There's everything about them. It's just
Look what we did.
They've gone, ah! And they're going to pop. And that was super infectious. And you guys, I love that about what you did. It was amazing skills. You entertained us with all the house robots. you took Apollo to a new level. So it could have been a boring flipper, however, it definitely wasn't the whole time.
No, they made it.
It was a launcher, and you did loads of launching, so thank you very much.
Awesome. Sad for Gary, though.
Gary...
He didn't even make it to the final.
Well, you know what? Gary got
He
a
made it
lot
further
more
than
fights
you.
than Saber too. So,
Yeah.
And Gary was well stoked with just doing those ones. So
Oh, yeah. He said he was pretty pleased with that. As someone who's made a new robot as well, like yourself,
yeah,
Storm 2, you'd kind of... If you made Storm 2, you'd be kind of annoyed about going out at this point, I'd say.
definitely. Well, you know, they had a great time. They had They got some guaranteed fights, which was cool. So I really like the new setup in the way they do that. But you just got to get past the first round, and then you get your guaranteed fights.
Yeah, the first round is pretty tricky.
It's pretty brutal, to be honest. And I'm going to say again, this episode,
this group,
is a bit of a. It was called D for Death, and it was pretty gruesome. There's a lot of good quality robots. So let's hear about Gary and his future plans.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get him in.
Gary,
how do you feel about your overall performance on Robot Wars this time around?
I'm very happy with it. PP3D was conceived, designed, built, tested, and taken down to the arena in less than 2 months. Yeah, I was trying to use knowledge gained from featherweight competitions, from when I took part with Team Typhoon and all the rest of it, and with a very quick build and having to order parts from the US, it literally came together a few days before competition. Even the night before, I suddenly realized we were about 2 kilos overweight because we had a really cool hard ox top to it that had to fit that night, and then cut. I really disliked the top panel that we went with, or we had to go with.
Yeah,
piece of 2 mil titanium. That was lightweight and all the rest of it. It was just right, bung it on the robot, get it underway, off it goes. We're good to fight. And yeah, the whole spinner mechanism, brilliant, works beautifully. Takes all the hits, dishes it out, no issue with that at all. Where we fell down was with the drive system. And what it essentially boils down to, there's 2 problems that we had. And I guess this kind of comes into upgrades for if there's a series 2.
Yeah, so we get on to future plans, I guess. This is...
Yeah. So we obviously were sending shocks to the magnets and through the motors that we shouldn't have. So we've got plans to shock mount them all, and that shouldn't be a problem from this point on. And then the wheels themselves, we're going to change those out. I'm not happy with the sack truck wheels, so we're going to go with some nice grippy, probably a go-kart style wheel or whatever. And a lot of people have said, why exposed wheels, and you should armor them up and all the rest of it. But to be honest, I think it would take away from the look of the machine.
Yeah.
I love the way that the machine looks, and it also means it's very difficult to stack against the arena sidewall.
Yeah.
It's a very irregular shape. That means that it is very difficult for a flipper or rammer or whatever to place up against the sidewall and us be immobile.
Yeah.
And I want to keep that. That's got to be the worst way to lose a fight is just being lifted up off your wheels. Essentially.
It's very much a kill or be killed design.
Oh, it is. It is. This series it was maybe more of a glass cannon than anything else. But when it went off, my God, it went off.
Yeah, it'd be great to see you guys back and just see what you can do with a more refined design when you've got more than 2 months to do it in.
Well, that's the hope. You never know. They might end up turning around tomorrow and saying, "Hey guys, you got 2 months. Get on it."
And it all happens over again. Yeah,
Well, it could well do. It could, I'm keeping that in mind. But we because we're starting to plan now, things will be a lot easier. I'm looking to get some new discs cut that are actually designed for the machine rather than using what I had lying around. And looking to get a new top made. So we'll need to lose weight from elsewhere in the chassis. Plasma cutter and cut out various bits and pieces of it, and then move the weight elsewhere. And a few small tweaks here and there to the inner workings of it. But the general machine, the shape, the idea of an undercutter, big heavy disc, that's going to stay. I like it. I like it a lot. And the reaction that we've gotten when I do a quick search on Twitter and Facebook and all that.
You've been Googling yourself.
Yeah, well, of course, everybody does. Everybody does. It's all been mainly positive, which has been great to read. It really does make it seem all worthwhile when people enjoy what you do.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So, do you have? Thanks for coming on and talking to me. I've used about 3/4 an hour of your time. I'm very aware of that.
That's fine. I'll invoice you later.
Cheers for that. Any sponsors you'd like to thank?
Yeah, well, there's two. The first one, my primary sponsor, which is my own company, Plastic Print 3D. Providing a lot of the finance for the machine, 3D printed parts, both for mock-ups, for brackets, and all the rest of it. Yeah. And then there's another one, Leak Heat, who are a company based again in Aberdeenshire, and they provided us with thermal imaging equipment to use during testing.
Oh, okay.
So to see any internal issues, with wiring or parts rubbing or whatever. But then also the camera that you saw on screen of us looking at the robot through thermal imaging, that was lent to us for the duration of the event.
Oh,
and
cool.
It was very good of them to do so. And I even got a thermal imaging selfie with Dara to put online at some point.
Yeah, definitely have to put that up.
Yeah.
Especially while the hype is strong for PP3D.
Oh, that's it. Trying to ride the hype train.
Yeah, great stuff. So, thanks for coming on, Gary. And I wish you all the best for the future, whatever that may hold for PP3D or other ventures.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's been great talking to you.
Oh, thanks very much. It's been a pleasure.
So he'll be back.
Yeah.
Better robot, sorting out his wheels, sorting out everything.
To be honest, his robot was good anyway. He's got a
good.
few tweaks to do. He's tweaking. He's a tweaky thing there. He doesn't need to do a lot.
Well, I think the same for you. You just need to get that arm working.
No, definitely. But we're talking about Gary at the moment. PP3D. Other people have said, like Gary said about the tick. I call it a tick. When it goes like that, when it turns, when it's upside down.
Yeah.
I prefer PP3D when it's upside down. Look at it. And it's got that really weird tick that it does.
Very difficult to drive, though.
And it's impossible to drive like that.
Difficult for him. Difficult for the Razor team's Warhead robot.
Yeah, because it has that.
Like that.
It's called progression, wasn't it called?
Procession.
Procession, that's right.
I had to double check this with Gary.
It's procession.
Procession.
Yeah, but I like it. And we got. What have we got to look forward to?
Well, next week on Robot Wars.
Oh, because we're still off for BattleBots.
Still off for BattleBots. So next week we've got Ellis Ware coming on.
Yep.
He runs Wranglebox.com.
Yay, Wranglebox.com.
What a site.
Well, that's going to be exciting to hear from him. And he's a robot genius.
Yeah, and his robot Pulsar is a beast.
And I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's going to be awesome. And we've got another amazing episode of Robot Wars to watch.
What about questions?
Talk about. Questions? Well, we haven't really had any questions.
No?
I don't think so.
I thought we always got questions.
We had a great comment. Well, we might have. But I don't know.
You've not looked them up.
I haven't prepared some questions for this week, so we're not doing them.
Can I just give you some stuff that I've then heard?
Give me some stuff.
So
what have you heard? Someone did ask whether we had any pictures of the saber-tooth that didn't make it.
Oh, yes. And we put
there
them
are.
up. Right.
You replied to him.
Yeah, on that thing.
And we'll put them up on the Inside the Bot website.
Cool.
So thank you everyone for listening. If you've got any questions, comments, or feedback about the sound stuff as well, insidethebot@gmail.com, or message us on Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Or comment on our SoundCloud page, I guess.
Oh, who's the chap? Didn't we just get an email? We just got an email, didn't we? Who's the chap?
Oh yes, we got an email from Third Law Sports.
Yes.
And they run a site that has drones and robot stuff and other things.
So we're going to be putting the web there.
And they're going to be featuring us.
Cool. That's awesome.
On their featured podcasts section. So that's really cool.
That's exciting.
Might get some new listeners in, some new questions, generate some
and
more
you guys might there want to go look at it. So
you guys might want to head on to
we'll
Third
put a
Law
link
Sports.
up and we'll do a link for that one.
I know
as well.
they do Robot Wars and BattleBots
Excellent.
news, so that's cool. But yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Are you thanking me or are you thanking everyone for listening?
I'm thanking you as well.
Oh, thank you, Gabe.
Nice. Yeah, that's lovely.
I've been Will Cedric,
I'm Gabe.
and this has been Inside the Bot.